Hello, everybody. We are today talking about our hotel reservation system. My name is Lucy, and I am the project manager.
So onto our requirements, we have a hotel with 40 rooms, extending from economy to executive suites, with varying number of beds and the ability to choose the option between smoking and non-smoking. Our three main actors are the guest, admin, and the clerk. The guest has the ability to log in, search for rooms, and then make, cancel, and modify the reservations. The clerk can do everything a guest can do with added privileges of processing, checking in and checking out, as well as generating the billing information. The admin can do all of that and more, such as creating clerk accounts and modifying all accounts on the system.
Hi, my name is Sierra, and I will be talking about our domain model for this project. I'm going to start off with the hotel object. The hotel employs two different actors called the administration as well as the clerk. They both have similar attributes, being the user ID as well as the password. Hotel also connects with the rooms object, which has the room number and also has a association with room type object, which includes the attributes is smoking, the number of beds, the quality descriptor, as well as the price of the room. The rooms also make or have reservations connected to them, which brings us to the reservations object. This object has the start and the end date, as well as the payment status, and is corporate as well as it is active. Coupons can also be applied to reservations, and coupons each have a code. Reservations can be made by a corporation, and the corporation object has a company ID. Guests can make reservations, and guest has a similar attributes as administration and clerks, but they have an additional attribute with the phone number attribute. And then the reservations objects generate billing info for them, and billing info object includes the additional charges as well as the final price. And now we will be talking about the use cases.
Yes, so for this particular iteration, we focused on 5 use cases that include the clerk creating a corporate reservation, the guest creating their own reservation, the guest canceling their own reservation, the clerk canceling a reservation on a guest's behalf, and the clerk modifying an existing guest reservation. So now I will be turning it over to Misty.
So onto our first use case of clerk creating a corporate reservation. First, the clerk logs in, and then as long as a room has not been found, the clerk searches for a room based on preference and date ranges, and the system returns a list of rooms for that specified date range. Once a desirable room has been found, the clerk reserves that room by giving the room type, date range, and the guest ID, and the reservation details are sent back to the clerk for verification. Then the clerk sets the billing info for that company ID to process any company discounts that they might have, and then the system sends back the reservation receipt to the company for future payment. Some operations that have been extracted from this SSD are the search room types, reserve room, and set billing info that I've explained earlier.
All right, now we are going to look at reservations from the guest side of it. So in this SSD, a guest searches for rooms based on their preference and a date range that they want to stay here. They send the preference to the system, and the system sends back a list of room types that fit that preference, but might vary in some ways. The guest can then pick which room type he likes best, and he can send reserve room with both the room type, the date range, and also the guest ID that he wants to reserve. The system then takes all of that information, turns it into one reservation, and sends it back to the guest and requests that he send some billing information back so they can save it with the reservation. The guest sends back that billing info and said billing info, and the system sends back final confirmations. After all this is done, the guest has officially reserved a room. This creates these 3 operation types: search room types, reserve room, and set billing info, which I have explained earlier.
Hi, everybody. My name is Priscilla Leithblad, and I am the project librarian. I'll be talking about this use case of a guest canceling a reservation. This SSD is assuming that the guest is already logged in, and then the guest will get to search reservations until they find the reservation that they want to cancel. using their guest ID, and the system will display reservations. Then the guest is able to confirm if they will have a late fee or not using the specific reservation, and the system will return a yes or no based on if the reservation is being canceled within 2 days of the reservation date. Then, based on that information, the guests can cancel their reservation, and the system will process all of that information, including if the reservation will include a fee or not. These 3 operations are what this use case will use, and they are also overlapped with other use cases, which we will talk about later. Get guest reservation, is late cancellation, and cancel reservation are all of those operations, and the system will handle these through multiple different ways, including just storing the list of reservations and returning a yes or no to give the guest information, as well as processing all of those reservation and fees.
Okay, now we will be going over the use case where the clerk cancels a reservation. Unlike the guest canceling the reservation, we assumed that the clerk has not logged into their account yet. So they're given kind of 2 options, whether they forgot their password. If this is true, then they can request admin's help in resetting their password. Otherwise, the clerk can log in to their account utilizing their employee ID as well as their password. And with this, the system will show the employees information and profile. Then the clerk can start canceling the guest's reservation using the guest ID. With this, the system will show a list of the reservations that the guest has made in the past. Then the clerk can determine whether the guest is canceling this reservation too late. With this, the system will return a yes or a no, based upon the fact that the guest is canceling within 2 days of the reservation. After this information has been returned, the clerk can finally confirm and cancel the guest's reservation using the reservation, and with this, the system will process and kind of confirm all the details of the cancellation. Using these in the SSD, we kind of went over the three of the operations, but 2 that are unique to this use case is request admin and employee login. Request admin, like I said before, is kind of getting admin's help to reset a password. And then employee login is unique to this use case because the employee is logging into their account, not the guest. And then get guest reservation as well as cancel reservation and is late cancellation. We kind of already went over when Priscilla said it. So yeah.
And for our last use case, we look at a clerk modifying a guest reservation. So first, the guest or the clerk will retrieve the guest reservation in the system, and the system will return a list of reservations associated with that guest ID. And then for each room that the guest is wanting to modify on their reservation, the clerk will search for room types with the guest specified preferences and date range to determine availability, and that would be returned by the system, a list of those rooms that are available. And then depending on whether or not the guest wants to modify the room type of their reservation or the date range of their reservation, the clerk will modify their reservation accordingly. So we have 2 different operations that can be done sent to the system. Lastly, the clerk will update the billing information using the set billing info operation to associate the billing info with the changes made to the reservation. So we have some of the operations extracted from this SSD are get guest reservation, modify room type, and modify date range, which I already kind of discussed, depending on how the reservation is going to be modified, as well as the ability to search rooms. Lastly, real quick, looking at the user interface, we have our login here where they can show if they are a guest or employee logging in. They have a look at how you can search availability for rooms depending on your preferences and your date range, as well as looking at the associated price and the screen for actually reserving a room and confirming that you want to make that reservation. Thank you so much for watching our presentation today. I hope that you, have a good one. Hope you enjoyed. Yay! Thank you.
Bye.